A sad day for Rhode Island. My foot, a sad day. Welcome into my state of mind. You know, I took a couple of days off. This happens every time I take a couple of days off. We put a couple of shows on, one brand new Monday, one Vinny Paz. Who didn't love seeing Vinny Paz? You know, Jess tells me we've got voicemails going. I can't wait to see what Dan has to say about the House Speaker thing. By the way, I don't find this to be very exciting for a showbiz point of view. I'm a voter and a constituent first, and when we have this kind of corruption go on, it disgusts me, hopefully, as much as it disgusts you. The problem we have in Rhode Island is that for too many people, it's titillation as opposed to disgust. And I wonder where you fit in that category. That would be a good exercise for you to go through on your own. Welcome in. I appreciate you being here. Dan McGowan will join me tonight. He's our outstanding reporter at WPRI.com. He's covered City Hall. And by the way, not for nothing, only did about 7 zillion pieces on what Gordon Fox was facing back in 2012. Not what he was charged with, but what he was facing. And it's inextricably linked, and I'll explain to you, and so will he, I think. We never plan these conversations. Here's the headline. I am foregoing the rundown tonight. We have no time for such things, even though the world is operating at warp speed. We might have something to say about Benjamin Netanyahu coming up at the end of the program. Look at, oh, pouty face. It's so sad. You're a thief. That's what a thief looks like when a thief is going to the slammer. Thank you very much. And here's one of the very many versions that Eyewitness News put together to cover the story.
Moments after pleading guilty before a federal judge, an emotional former House Speaker Gordon Fox emerges from court.
We're still in the legal proceeding, and I don't want to feel callous to any of the people of the state of Rhode Island, any donors, including, the people close to me, the people that looked up to me, my family. It's tough.
His corrupt conduct has resulted in his removal from high office, and deservedly so.
Fox is facing 3 counts of bribery, wire fraud, and tax evasion. Prosecutors say he accepted a $52,000 bribe in 2008 to approve a liquor license for Eastside restaurant Shark when Fox was vice chairman of the Providence Licensing Board. He's also accused of using campaign finance funds for personal gain.
Over that approximately 6-year period, he used that money, $108,000, to pay personal expenses, including the mortgage on his home, the loan payment on his car, and his personal American Express card.
As part of a plea agreement, prosecutors will recommend 3 years behind bars. If the judge accepts the deal, he will be sentenced on June 11th. Gordon, do you feel remorse?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That goes without question.
Prosecutors say they are still examining the bribery scheme to see if anyone else should be charged.
If you are a corrupt public official, just like the Attorney General said, you know, the boys in the band are going to get back together, and we're going to come and we're going to get you, track you down, and then make sure you're brought to justice.
A little cowboy from the Boston FBI agent, the boys in the band.
That's right.
I'd rather see some cowboy from the good guys versus the cowboy from the bad guys. That's my take. Welcome, Mr. McGowan.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back in. Mr. Pouty Face there. You know what I find amazing? The first thing he should have said on the stoop of the courthouse is, I'm so sorry. You know, it's tough. Donors, people that are close to me. He's a thief. He stole $35,000 for a vote, and God knows what else could be out there. And so I started with you. What does your journalistic instinct and or potential reporting tell you about whether or not there was just one bar back in 2008?
Well, you know, obviously it's hard to speculate beyond what we know, but of course, you know, you look at it. I think when you look at the case as a whole, it was pretty open and shut, right? I mean, it was very much a document-driven case. They come in, they figure out that, first of all you have to do is you get a subpoena on his bank account. You realize he's reporting, say, $200,000 in his campaign account, and he only has $50,000.
Well, let's break it down. So I agree with you on that. So let's be clear, even though Tim's story was pretty precise. We've got 2 scenarios that he's been charged with here. One is the bribe that he took for a vote advancing the bar's cause with his role as a liquor license member of the city of Providence. The second is him ripping off his own campaign fund, and that's where the fraud charges come in. That's where the tax evasion.
But remember, the second, the first thing, so the bribery charge only comes because they figure out the first thing, right? They had him nailed already, and then over the course of their investigation after the raids, that's when they figure out the bribery charge. And that's where your question comes back to this idea of, were there more things like that? We ask those questions, and certainly they're never going to answer it in a strong way, but it seems like they were able to track down the one that was very clear.
The plea agreement for 3 years has inside it an agreement that he will not be prosecuted for bribery charges for his role in the Liquor License Commission. So you might someday, I don't know what Dan's doing, but I'm just saying you might someday, oh, there's my camera. I don't know what Dan's doing. But you might someday, in an hour or a month or a year, want to write that you learned that there were other establishments that were doing that. But he won't be charged for that specifically. But what I haven't figured out, maybe you know the answer to this question, can others be charged for that?
So it sounds as though, yeah, I think the answer to that question is yes. Now, we don't know behind the scenes, who talks to people and who's able to cut a deal behind the scenes without any charges in place. Of course, we are not privy to that information, but sure. I mean, look, if there was somebody else, there are a lot of liquor licenses that go out every year. If there's someone else that was, allegedly paying off Gordon Fox or any other members of that board, I wouldn't be surprised to see more charge. We just don't have any indication that that was the case.
Well, do we have journalists nosing in on that as we speak?
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I'll tell you, as a reporter who's covered the licensing board specifically for a long time, it's always a strange process. That you on your radio show, you always see the $3 bar, things like that. But behind the scenes, we cover a lot of those meetings where you sit through and same kind of process. Bunch of people, someone wants a liquor license. Bunch of people come forward, say, "Nah, we're not sure about that." Other people come forward, say, "We want it," and then they grant it.
Let's remember one thing, and we'll talk about this more in the next segment. But you've been on Gordon Fox's journalistic tail for quite some time. The feds acknowledged an investigation into the Providence Economic Development Partnership,
That's right.
the housing agency that he did subcontract legal work for.
Sure, yeah.
There's nothing in this deal that reflects on that particular saga, but that's where they started with him.
Sure, so we don't know, we do know one thing that Peter Nerona said that this Gordon Fox investigation did stem from something else. Now,
Which he wouldn't mention.
Which he wouldn't mention. We don't know that was PEDP. That said,
how could it not be?
Well, how could it not be? Certainly is a question that I would ask as well. You're absolutely right. I mean, we've been covering. I've certainly written probably 50 or 60 stories on issues with the PEDP, and certainly many of them, were connected to Gordon Fox in some way or another. Whether there was criminal, I can't say, but.
And you've got the Attorney General. Steve, can we hear from the Attorney General? We've got a piece here. See if you can pop that up, and we'll take a listen to what he had to say.
Corruption in any form, but especially political corruption, will not be tolerated by either the Department of Attorney General, nor the U.S. Attorney's Office, nor any of our partners here today. Working individually or in concert, and working through law enforcement investigators, we will be aggressive in rooting out corruption, prosecuting those who violate the trust that the citizens of the state of Rhode Island have placed in them, and we will bring it to whatever rightful conclusion there should be.
Jess, can you give me a bucket? Because I have to toss. See if you can throw me a bucket. First of all, this is a guy who served in the leadership in 2008 in the General Assembly with this guy. Everybody on Smith Hill is aware that Gordon Fox was having a lot of fun with his campaign funds. And now it's kind of like, yeah, I'm with Nerona. Yeah, I'm with the U.S. attorneys. Now, he was able to exchange, because of statutory differences, a bribe charge in this whole thing. In other words, he was able to help, and he was all goody two-shoes about that. But he didn't lift a finger to get Gordon Fox.
Sure. I mean, we didn't.
Come on.
It is fair to say we didn't hear a lot from his office until we knew about the statute change, where there's a longer statute of limitations. for the bribery charge in state versus federal, and so that's where he came into play. That said, who knows? I mean, I can't say directly that he wasn't involved in any way. I just do know that certainly the U.S. Attorney's Office was the one that led the way on
Look,
this.
you know, I'm bullish on the state police that are the agency for the AG, as I am for the FBI, the agency for the U.S. Attorney. And I don't want the state police to feel like I'm indicting them, nor the career prosecutors in the Attorney General's office. But is Peter Kilmartin kidding me? Really? Really, Peter? Come on, come sit in Danny's seat here and talk to me about your diligence on Gordon Fox. The people want to know how tough you are on corruption from that group of bandits up there at the State House. We'll be right back.
As Rhode Islanders, we need to lose our political corruption amnesia. In general, I believe in rehabilitation and second chances. But I do not believe that those who have sworn to uphold the public trust and violated it and been given the enormous opportunity and privilege to serve the public and abused it should ever be given that opportunity again. You know, you can have someone who's violated the public trust and they're back running for office again 8 years later.
U.S. Attorney Pina Nerona, amidst the press conference announcement of Gordon Fox, the Speaker of the House, 3-year going to jail deal. Obviously, he's talking about a certain guy that used to be the mayor and ran again to be the mayor and is on the radio.
Sure.
Still on the job there.
It's pretty animated, by the way. He likes to cross off the politicians that he's gone after.
Nerona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good for him.
Okay.
I'm saying I agree.
I got no quarrel with that.
Sure.
And you know what? Sometimes you need a cold shower or a slap in the face to get right sized. And that was a very aggressive comment that he made right there. And look, I work next to the guy every day on the lineup. I've had the challenges of having to analyze from a ground zero point of view and still know that he's a member of the team. And there is an argument about second chances. And he did make a pretty viable run if the East Side hadn't ganged up on him. But the same East Siders that ganged up on him are the people that helped Gordon Fox get elected under a very difficult environment when he was already, according to your reports and others, under federal investigation.
Sure. I mean, I think that's where you're making, and as the analyst of the two of us, you are making a very legitimate point, especially when you see what happened during the mayor's race on the East Side particularly.
He's so dirty. He's so dirty from the same people that got the dirty 3-year deal guy elected, and they knew he was in trouble. And you know who one of the worst offenders is? My thought. She's our governor.
It's shaken all of us. I think it's shaken every Rhode Islander today. I think it's a black day for Rhode Island. The only way to move forward, though, is to prove to people that we can get things done. Let's make our schools work. Let's make this economy work. Let's train people. Let's make sure we take care of the most vulnerable. You know, it's on us to prove to the people that we're here to do the right thing by showing them results.
Yeah, no. It's not by just showing results. You're not going to get the results until you purge this place of the problem that it has, Governor, with all due respect. And I want to say this, I want your thought on this, but I want to say this to the people. So, and this is not Dan talking. He's the journalist. I'm the guy who gets to opine. You know what, Governor? You need to go further. You need to apologize to the people in this state for going up the East Side in October of 2012 and running Gordon Fox all over that district, using your treasurer and potential gubernatorial candidacy capital to advance his cause in a very tough race where we knew he was in the cooker. You need to say, I enabled Gordon Fox. I'm an enabler, and I can't lead until I become intellectually honest with the people of this state and say so. Was she not running around with Gordon Fox?
No, you're right. That's what I was going to say. You know, for people at home, everyone should recognize that you're hitting it on the head. That was a very tough race in 2012. People forget that. Gordon Fox was in real trouble. And you're right. He called in the big guns, the treasurer, the mayor at the time, Angel Tavares, David Cicilline. You know, we're talking, he had for a House legislative race, He ran it as though it was the governor's race.
And they're going to say, well, easy for you to see now, Dan, Monday morning quarterback. No. Actually, when you were running around the east side, Governor, I was saying, what are you doing? Sure. I don't think I was yet on television, but on radio every day, I was telling you about this. It's not about, hey, see how smart I am. I'm just trying to tell you, it's not a Monday morning quarterback analysis. We were going, what's going on here with this treasurer running around with Gordon Fox, who was indictable any day now? Right. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. So the whole package of the point in this segment I'm trying to make, Dan, and I apologize, I don't want to make you a foil.
I'm enjoying it. I'm having a
great
time.
I want to hear what you have to think, and I don't want you to think you're sitting there as a sounding board. Nerona makes a good point about the culture and the acceptance, but he's not calling anybody else out. Right. And while he makes an excellent point about Cianci, and I think we need to rethink what we think about that, everyone else had a role in watching this train wreck and enabling this train wreck and supporting this train wreck.
Well, I'll tell you, I think you're hitting it on the head. You know, we did a story probably, 3 or 4 months ago, and it was sort of the 6-month update on Gordon Fox after the raids. We still didn't know what was going to happen yet. But we talked to Tim White, Ted Nesi, and I talked to lots of different sources who've been with, been friends or enemies of Gordon for a long, long time. And they all came back and said, look, he's always had financial problems. He's never been the strongest lawyer. He's always danced on the line of unethical. And all these people saying that, many of those people were the same people who were willing to publicly support him. That, I think, is what Peter Nerona's talking about.
But he's not calling any of the other political establishment out. He's calling out Buddy Cianci and the voters, but he's not calling out anybody else.
Sure.
And
some of those people voted for him.
And I'm looking for the U.S. Attorney to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about the culture of the State House. Now, when we come back, stay with us. Welcome back again, Dan McGowan with me. We're talking about the House Speaker's 3-year plea deal. Who knows what will come from this yet? The PEDP investigation stands where, by the way? The original investigation we think that might have caused the, look at this stuff that got this charge and this deal. Where's that kind of
We've been given no indication that it is a closed, that it is a closed case, so we don't know.
38 studios.
We believe it's still open.
The state has said it's open.
That's right.
The feds have said they have no interest in it.
That's good, very good point. So there's where you talked about the Attorney General before. That he is leading the 38 studios.
No, he's not.
Well, their office would claim
by statute and by public information, meaning he's made comment that.
Sure.
But he's done nothing.
Well, we haven't seen anything.
The most the Attorney General has done so far is to hide behind the former Secretary of State's fines for the tax credit broker that's the partner and pal of the House Speaker.
Yeah,
in the worst stealth deal ever in the history, I think, of the legislature, where the legislative body votes a $125 million loan guarantee, doesn't know what they're voting on, and the deal's in the hopper already. And for that story to sit there untended by full-blown hearings and who did what when. If this Attorney General is such a I'm on anti-corruption, he ought to call for hearings with subpoena power. And then the other villain in this, not in the case itself, but the enabler, is Mattiello, the new House Speaker. He's, this notion of the ethics stuff, doesn't really match up because no one's not going to steal for a $1,000 fine. He misses the point. The place is reputationally not only damaged, but in the dumper. And he ought to, in response to this, be calling for a subpoena power and revisiting 38 studios to show that he cares about the reputation of government.
Sure, it's a great way, even if nothing happens, it's a great way to just send the message. We're there,
but
right?
do it, not just for symbolism. Sure. We want the truth.
Of course.
And we can handle the truth.
Right. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This is something was floated by me today about the legislature. So you see all these issues that come up. Do you think that the answer is we don't pay them enough, or they don't work enough? Maybe we do a full-time legislature. Is that how we get past maybe this small level corruption?
Yeah.
No.
Because most of the people that are in the legislature, most of them, I don't have the data, so I don't want to misspeak and end up, politifacted on this. But I think no matter what you pay a full-time legislator, it's not going to be enough.
Right, to not.
It's 50, it's 75 grand, it's something like that.
They're not getting rich.
They're not getting rich in the job, and so any incentive to be able to pad their deal will reemerge within 3 weeks after their full-time status.
Sure.
So I don't think so. But the culture problem, the other thing that Nick Mattiello can do. Nick Mattiello can say, I'll take my $250,000 in campaign funds that I wine and dine every legislator on, convincing them that they have to vote this way and vote that way, and dump it, put it in charity, cap yourself to $25,000, and don't avail yourself to the good life when you're the speaker, entertaining everybody in the world while you're working at places like the Capitol Grill that the average man and woman in this state don't have the money to go spend at.
Sure.
I mean, who's he kidding?
Yeah.
Gordon Fox is using 6 figures worth of money to live off the dole of some, spaghetti dinner $25 contribution from an old lady in a tower. What do you think Nick Mattiello's doing?
Right. Well,
I'm not saying he's stealing it and using it for his own purposes, but he's on that edge just by the nature of using it as a power tool to convince legislators to do what he wants to do.
Right, and that's you look at there's all these studies that show in Rhode Island, it doesn't cost that much to win a House or Senate seat, $25,000, $30,000 if you've got a competitive race. Much less if you're running unopposed. So you do raise a good point. You're right. I mean, we don't know that Nick Mattiello is doing anything illegal, but certainly, we love to report every quarter on this stuff.
But he's an enabler. How much cuisine do you think he choked down with Gordon Fox out of the $108,000 that Gordon Fox is going to the Slammer for?
Sure. It's a fair question.
Come on, man. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And, it just goes on and on and on and on. And, he and his deputy have decided that what they're going to do is they're going to put in legislation to be able to audit the campaign spending. I got a better idea. Don't spend it.
Right. Cap it. Do something.
What's next in this?
Oh, lots. I mean, we're chasing every lead and every follow-up story that we can. I think tonight, Tim will have, it'll already be on, right? No.
7:30 to 11:30.
Okay, so 10 and 11, I think we'll have some pretty good updates. So I know Walt Buteau's got a pretty good story about the licensing board and things like that. So.
All right, WPRI.com. It's an absolute must for you. Okay, check it out. Dan, thank you.
Thanks as
very
always.
Much. One more thing when we come back. Stay with us. I thought I perhaps had finally convinced and created a scenario where I could get Jess to appear on the television show, because when I asked her for the bucket, I thought she'd at least throw it at me, so she gave it to me during the break. Listen, it's not funny. There's nothing funny about what's going on here with this Speaker of the House problem. Our very success and future in this state is going to be founded and relies on getting rid of the reputation that we have. And this was a necessary step back. Governor Raimondo and the Speaker of the House and the whole political culture and community out there, although they convince themselves that they're change agents, haven't done a thing in the context of Gordon Fox to prove it. This is a moment to prove it. Benjamin Netanyahu has got a lot to prove. He came to a joint session of Congress, sans a couple of Democrats like our own Sheldon Whitehouse, and said a lot of things.
We're an ancient people. In our nearly 4,000 years of history, many have tried, repeatedly, to destroy the Jewish people. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, spews the oldest hatred of anti-Semitism with the newest technology. He tweets that Israel must be annihilated.
You want to talk about a straight talker. It can cost you an election, and it might in Israel, but he's refreshing. More tomorrow on the radio at noon and back here.